Okay, guys, Chris back with you on CC's Aquatic Adventures, and the first three parts of the maintenance video was me changing or doing some maintenance on the filters and changing mechanical filtration. But the most important part of keeping fish sound is water changes. I do water changes about once every month, and I'm going to do about 50% on these water changes today. I got a pump in here, pump the water out to the outside. Just regular water going out to we have actually a little drainage out here. And then I fill up this tote with water and just use that to siphon, just suck the water out of here, put it in the tank. So that pump is key. All I'm doing is changing the water. I'm not doing any gravel vac because of the type of gravel that I use. This should be enough. I'll let that suck out a little bit. I'll do them in three. So I'll do these two and that one. I'll fill it up and then go to these tanks next. 75, 55, and then do the small ones. I'll do the downstairs ones too. Those are a little more complicated, but we can still get it done. But all I'm doing is emptying the water. Now this tank here, I will use a smaller python, and there's some food left over down there I want to get. So I do want to gravel back some of that stuff before I do the main water change. So that's what I do in my fish room. Definitely invest yourself a pump. Get some hose so you can put this outside. I'm just going to change right now while I'm doing this. All I do is take it out and go to the next tank. And I'll just pump out the water. Most of these things don't need gravel vac because of the type of gravel I have, and I have a bunch of bottom feeders that keep the bottom clean. So as long as you're changing the water, you want to get these fish to look healthy. Change the water every month. Do about 50% or maybe less. I know some people do every 2 weeks. If you do every 2 weeks, and if they ever do every 2 weeks, then just do 25%. So it's gonna be a couple about an hour or two before I finish these. So we'll get back and I'll take a video of how I do it. Now we'll do the ones downstairs too. Those are kind of different. Now you kind of use that pump a little bit better. A little more, depending on what I gotta do down there. But another thing I do is I keep the filters running. As long as the water sucking in, I keep the filter running. I keep the heaters running. As long as you're in the water, they should be okay. Now you don't want to leave this going for, hours. Just do minutes and fill it back up. Now when I do put water in here, I use my prime, which is in here. I add what I need, measure it out to what it says in the bottle, and then I'll put the water in the tank. Temperature, now this is cold water comes out. I mix it with hot water so it's not as cold, but you don't have to go crazy. Now this is actually a little bit cold than I want it to be, but I'll add some hot water while I'm filling it up. So stand by, and I'll get you guys a video of how these tanks look when I'm filled. All you gotta do is just do the opposite of what we just did. Is just put this pump in, not the tanks, but in here, and run the hose. Instead of running the hose outside, you run it into the tank. Pretty simple. All right, stand by. Okay, guys, as you can see, the water was filled up. Had a little problem with the cold water. It was a little bit too cold. That temperature was down under 70, so I had to mess with the water. It's up to 72 now. I'm not really too concerned about it. the heater will get that pumped up, and then I actually might just add some hot water here. I'm actually filling up here the faucet in the background, filling up the hot water in the other room, just so we can have hot water. So I mean, hot water add to this. So when I do the angelfish tank, I don't shock the fish. These guys are pretty much hardy, so they're not gonna really be affected too much by the temperature. But you can see they're swimming around much happier, getting some fresh water. They always do that. And then of course, these guys here, as you can see, I'm filling up. I always like to use the clamp, just in case. You can see the pump in here, pumping the water out. A lot of times you may want to just, put this like this. You also use a bucket, so when you go from tank to tank, I use this bucket in case it fills up. I can go, I could go from tank to tank, so I don't spill all over the floor. So I'm gonna go inside. It sounds like the bucket in there is filled up. So just wanted to show you this real quick. Like I said, this is the pump I use, and it does take a little longer because I don't use a big pump, but I rather just use what I got. So let me go turn this water off and be right back, guys. Okay, guys, I'm down in the fish room. I actually didn't continue the water change video because I completely forgot about it. But I'm down here. This is a couple of days later. As you can see, my puffers were just nailing those. I had a bunch of pest snails I put in there, so they're eating those. Plus the blowworms I gave them. They eat a bunch of different stuff: blowworms, clams, snails. So anyway, just real quick. As I was explaining to you guys, I use these totes for water changes and that pump upstairs I showed you in continuation of this video. What I do with these tanks, I still do about 50% on the bigger tanks. The smaller tanks, still 50%, but you don't use a lot of water on these guys down here. This is the fish nook that all these tanks are filled right now. I'm running some breeding stuff going on. But when I do water changes down here, I do 50% of these water changes, and I put all the water in here, in this tote. Now I got one tote down here, one tote upstairs. I empty all the water into this tote. If I do have a little extra water, I put it in, there's another tote in here I have that I can use. Because I can't lift anything, that's the best way for me to do that. And I'll run the pump, or if I do, I may run like a smaller hose that I have. You guys sort of smaller Python, and I do 50% water change and empty it into that bucket and just pour it in this tote. Now I usually put this tote, I'll come down over here, show you guys, at the edge of the stairs. So I'll sit right here, and then I go up the stairs and I pump the water with my pump into the other tote, and then I pump that water when that tote's full upstairs. I'll put the tote, empty it into the street, into the drain. And it's just regular water. I don't put any chemicals in my water, so it's just regular water. So that's the way I do it. And like I said, for me, easiest possible way for me to do water changes is to use these totes, and for me not to lift anything. Now, if I do lift something, like I said, it'll be about a half of that tote, if that. Even if I have to, I would use the pump to pump the water out of the bucket into the tote. So there's so many different ways you could do it, but this is the way I do it. That's the easiest way. And you can see the most important part of your water quality is water changes. People say, well, the clarity is affected too. Sometimes, not all the time. Usually, it's your mechanical filtration that's doing that. Or if you use chemical filtration, it does work. Now, as you can see, all the tanks look great. And that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to run down with you how easy it is for me to do water changes. And like I said, you guys can do it which way you do. I know some people like to use the Python and suck up the gravel. I do that. I have a smaller Python, but you can buy the Python at your local store, or you can go to the store and get yourself a pump like this. This is the one I use for down here to pump upstairs.
You might want to get a stronger one if you want to go up the stairs, but that one works for me. And then just as you go, do your thing. And as long as you're changing that water, you want to make sure you change the water. I never really worry about changing the beneficial bacteria as far as like doing gravel vacs. You can do that. I do gravel vacs if I know it's been a while. But that's the fish nook, guys. Um, Hope you enjoyed the video. That's pretty much all the maintenance I do in my tanks. And like I said, I pretty much do it as easy as I possibly can. So remember, if you can't own them, rehome them. And if you guys like the video, like it, subscribe, tell your friends, and do all kinds of stuff. All right? See you guys later.